And here we are, episode 5 of the Royal Ramble with Matt and Rory. And good evening. We've been out for a few weeks now,
Holiday.
almost a month. Yeah,
Yeah.
we've had holidays, all sorts of stuff going on between here and there. And so the last couple of episodes, we listened to some old school coast to coast.
Mhm.
And today we are going to roll the dice and go off the old school list and see where we end up. So
We have a lot of random topics in
I
there. Who knows?
do, and I've got the random number generator going on here, and let's see what we get. Number 19. Is the moon real or
Oh,
fake?
good. That's a great one.
So, I mean, so what I would reference anybody who's listening to this and wants to know where I'm coming from on this, um, the Y files, 1000%
Yeah.
the Y files. Um, and so for me, growing up, so I was born in the late 70s, and so
Mm.
I had all of the old school space shuttle stuff, right? I mean, 'cause space shuttle was young still in the early 80s. They were just getting going with the space shuttle. So all the space stuff, I'm always expecting, and as a kid, we're gonna go back to the moon. We're going back to the moon. We never
Mhm.
did. And I got older and I was like, why have we never been back? It's kind of ridiculous that we were back to the moon. And then the more I listen to things and the older I get, like I remember once I was in the army and like somebody told me, "Oh no, we never went to the moon. It was all a hoax." I'm like, "Hey, dude, come on. Now we went to the moon." And now I'm
Of
like,
course we went to the moon.
I don't know. And I
Yeah.
don't because once you learn about the Van Allen belt and all these
Yeah.
other things and the fact that well, we haven't been back and everybody just quit after we made it, which makes no sense. Why wouldn't they go to beat our record and try and have somebody stay there for a month or something?
Mhm.
So yeah, that always makes me wonder. What are your thoughts right now?
So is the moon real, right? There's some theories that we live in like a was it like a holographic projection and it's
Yeah, yeah.
like the Truman Show where the moon's like
Yeah.
fake and it's a projection. I'm not into that.
No.
I think the moon is real. Have we been to the moon? Maybe. Do I think the 1970s moon land 60s, 70s moon
Yeah.
landing stuff was real? Maybe parts of it, but not the whole thing. I don't think all that film is real. There's too many things.
Yeah. I don't
The records being expunged and
yeah,
lost
yeah,
forever.
so
Like
just
get the frick.
over it like it was a VHS tape from the '80s.
Yeah,
No.
oh, we re-recorded over it. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
sure. The moon landing, like, come on,
Well,
come on.
there's
That should
there's
have
also
like a big red label. Do not,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know what I mean?
original copy.
Yeah.
Um, I my the more I've learned, the more I just have so many questions about it. Like, we couldn't so, like, they lost the math to do it, is one of
Yeah.
the things too, like, "Oh, we don't have the capabilities of whatever." They computed that on a room full of old IBM computers, and the ladies doing it by hand. I mean,
I
you've
bet
probably seen that movie,
this
but
this today, this
oh,
little
yeah, yeah.
air temperature gauge has probably more technology in it than those computers they used at the time.
Yeah.
Definitely a phone or a laptop that we're using.
Yes, and you
So
would
there's no
think
reason they can't reconstruct this stuff,
no,
man.
no, I don't see why
That's
they couldn't do
garbage.
that, and then they were like, "Oh, well, we don't have the rockets they used back then had more power or whatever."
Yeah, okay.
I mean, you've been to Huntsville. I mean, you've seen the
Yeah.
Saturn V's they were using. Number 1, you gotta be retarded to sit on
We've
top of that
seen
thing.
we've seen the video of
I mean
Elon's rocket coming down and parking
well,
like a
and that
parking spot. Like,
so
get out of here, man.
I just
You
saw
know
some
what
stuff the other day that his
I mean?
rockets are actually bigger than the Saturn V's. They're
Okay.
huge. They're
But
huge.
if they're bigger
Um
and they have more technology,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
why
There's no reason why
why can we
but
not cut you
he's
you
I
know?
think I think I think they're gonna shut him down or they're gonna get him far enough in because he is on the cusp of getting stuff there. Everybody else's
Mm,
stuff that's gone there has had problems or run into
yeah.
things.
Oh,
So I
yeah, yeah, yeah,
think
yeah.
that there's a big Indian one, like India had one that got there
Yes.
and it like they're like, "Is that a building?" And then it like just stopped working or whatever.
Alex
Um,
talked about that. Alex Jones talked about
yeah,
that, I think on one of the Joe Rogan podcasts where there's, like, crashed the country of India,
yeah, yeah,
Indian, landing or, like, rocket or whatever moon
yeah.
exploration material
But there's like
on the dark side of the moon, I think, right?
yeah.
I think
Well,
it's
I don't
on
know
the
if it's a
dark
dark side or
side.
not, but I know that they've seen like a 3-mile tall like obelisk on the moon. Like, how the hell did that get there? Where'd that
That
come
is strange.
and so it's documented. There's a bunch of weird things that are documented. One of the missions to the moon, I don't know if they landed or just like circumnavigated the moon or whatever, but they launched shit into the moon to see what would happen,
Mm,
and the moon rang like a bell for hours.
that's
And then
bizarre.
then they did it with heavier stuff later on, and it rang like for days.
That
And
that's weird for one big reason. Cheese doesn't ring, so I don't understand how that.
so, but along those same lines, the other weird thing is no matter how big the craters are on the moon, they're all a consistent depth. So
That's weird.
you can have like a basketball hit it and it's going to leave the same depth of crater as a tennis ball, and it's space, so it's a vacuum of space, so it really doesn't
Mm.
matter. There's like all that stuff, it's just mass is what's going to do it. It doesn't have to do with anything other than that. There's no gravitational pull. So why isn't it leaving bigger craters by bigger massive objects? So it's just weirdness. Also the fact that um there's a couple of things, and this is all back to like Y-file stuff. And there's a
Yeah,
really good
yeah.
Y-file. It's like 3 hours long, where it's a compilation of two or three of them, or three or four of them, where he talks about the moon. And he's even talking like the more he talks about it, the more he questions the moon.
It's strange.
There's the moon is, I want to say, what is it, like a third of the size of Earth. So
I think so.
there's no other planet that has a moon that is that large in consistency to itself in space.
Hmm.
The other thing that's crazy is if you look back through historical record, no historical records, and they're talking like old historical records, right? Mention the moon till a certain period of time, and it's about the same time all the way around the world when they all start mentioning the moon in their history. And so like it just kind of appeared there one day.
That's weird. I haven't heard that one yet. That's
Yeah,
strange.
that's in the Y-file stuff too. So I mean, I have to go and research it, but I generally trust his stuff to a
Dude,
certain extent.
I know we've seen a lot of the same kind of. We're very similar for like people watching me and Rory. We dabble in the same dark magic
Oh, yeah,
sometimes,
yeah,
so we're very like kind of like familiar with the
yeah.
topics that we talk about. Kind of like both of us. But one of the things I want to kind of narrow down on the moon thing, I think we're both in agreement. The whole like moon landing thing was heavily fabricated.
Oh yeah. I don't
I would argue that. I
I
think
don't
we're
know
on
if
the
we've
same
been
page
there.
with that.
I
I would
would
agree. I would agree.
so I think a lot of it was I don't think so most people today don't realize. So most people say I want to say what was it 69 when we landed on the moon, walked on the moon or whatever.
Yeah, I think so.
So I mean most people today, they're so removed from it that
Hmm.
it's like past history, whatever. It's just in the history books, whatever.
Seems
People
like
walked on the
100
moon.
years ago, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
literally
And
like 40
they're
years
just
ago.
gonna drink the Kool-Aid and go with it. But
Yeah,
yet you gotta put yourself in that perspective then. You're talking about Vietnam War,
yeah,
the Cold War with Russia, all sorts of stuff going on. We were, I mean, in a legit race to get there first. I will guarantee you they had dudes on a launch pad that were trying to go to the
hmm,
moon. And they're like, dude, we need to run some stuff over here in the desert of Arizona and just film that shit. And if it doesn't work, we can throw that in. And
yeah.
I would say it's probably a mixture of both. I would say a lot of dudes that we don't even know about probably died trying to
Agreed.
do it.
For like
Um,
historical context, during that time, I mean, it'd be almost like modern day us competing with China.
oh
But
yeah,
I would argue at that time, Russia was more advanced than us in some aspects. Because you got to think, the NASA program started after World War II
oh yeah,
when East and West Germany split. Operation Paperclip, all
yep,
the Allied countries came into Nazi occupied Germany to get those scientists out, right? For that the
yeah.
V2 rocket
Well, I
knowledge,
think
right?
we stole most of them before the Russians did.
I think so, but the Russians made quicker advances initially for
Yeah,
like the space program, like with Laika, the space dog, and
yep.
then the I can't remember the chimp's name. They launched a chimp up in space too, I think.
We launched a
Um,
monkey.
did we do the monkey and they did
Yeah,
the
yeah.
dog?
There's a shrine to the monkey in Huntsville. The people put bananas on it, and it's always stinky
Oh,
when you
okay,
drive
yes,
by.
you're right. I did see
Yeah,
that. You're right. They did send the dog though,
yeah. They
the
sent the dog,
Laika dog. So I think there was
which is also
really heavy.
referenced in the the third movie for the God, it's not the Avengers. What is it? The
Guardians of the
Guardians of the
Galaxy.
Galaxy 3. They got the dog that talks, which is referencing the Russian dog in space.
So sidebar real quick for anyone that may happen to be in the San Antonio, Texas area, there's a great cheesecake factory place or cheesecake place called Leica. and it's named after the moon dog.
Really? The space dog.
Oh man, they have like amazing cheesecake. But I think it was really competitive at that time, and it was like
Oh, yeah.
a race to be first,
Legit
right?
race, yeah. Then that was supremacy. I mean, what other achievement was beyond that? I mean,
And at that time, the government didn't care about lying. I mean, they still
no.
don't now, but
I
at
mean,
that time, you're talking about Operation Northwoods time. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
MK Ultra, I mean,
MK
all sorts of
Ultra.
stuff. It's what I don't think, um, so it wasn't today, right? Because
Mm-mm.
if it was today and they showed that, people are like, "Gosh, that's AI, dude.
Yeah,
It
it's
really didn't
fake.
happen," you know? Um, and I think I I mean, there's a lot to it. I mean, it was a race, you had to go. I think there's a lot of hype to it. You had to get the
Yep.
American people to buy in. We're broadcasting this live. I mean,
You
I
have
doubt it
the
was
bought and paid
live.
for media at the time.
Oh,
You
yeah,
have
yeah.
the Walter Cronkites like we've talked about in the
Yeah,
past. America's first today, everyone,
yeah.
and then that's all you know.
And
You
I
don't have
guarantee it
internet,
wasn't
you know?
live, because if he stepped off that
Of
and the vacuum
course
space
not.
sucked him into a ball and spit him out or
Yeah.
whatever, and
Yeah.
I'm sure it was recorded. I mean, even if it happened, it wasn't a live feed. It was delayed so that if he got, you know, killed in the vacuum of space.
Well, that ties to some of the initial things we talked about with the moon being fake, the Van Allen belt.
Yeah, yeah.
So
How do you get through that?
let's talk about filming the Van Allen belt real quick.
How do you get film back? Well, but I mean, were they
It's
so
so
supposedly
radiated.
they were beaming radio waves back, but I don't know, can you beam radio waves through a heavy ass radiation belt like that? I mean, I don't even know how
I
that
don't even know.
works and everything else, but I think
Well,
that's like,
even with radio transmitted watches, they're limited by
oh yeah.
regions, and if regions will limit that, then surely
Well,
space and all the elements in between the
yeah,
atmosphere
and
would
how much
interfere,
I
you
mean,
know?
I don't know. I know that I mean, how much power do they have in this thing? Because it had to be batteries. It wasn't like they
Yeah.
got a gas generator running on it. I know, when I was in Afghanistan, I had a Harris 117, so 117 radio, I think it was,
Mm,
and it was a satellite radio. It would do all sorts of stuff, but we used it for satellite. And
mm,
on the hood of my truck, I had a satellite radio because we're out in the middle of nowhere, and um, our regular high frequency radios would not reach. We're way beyond 40K or whatever away, wouldn't reach. This is before they had the balloon with the big antennas on it and everything to where your radios
mm.
worked everywhere. And so I had a satellite radio, and you had narrow band and you had wide band. And on wideband, anybody could walk over your traffic because everybody's in this giant funnel of traffic. And so you're on the radio, you
True.
get bumped off all the time. You could do narrow band, but you had to be stationary. And
Mm,
so you had to be stationary, you had to have the thing pointed in the right direction, but on your hood, you could just have the radio out, the big antenna out, and it would just work anywhere. But and you could only push like 5 watts or something on wideband. And so you couldn't push much power on it
mm.
because it's going everywhere. And so it's not going to a central location. And so they had to have something similar, or they've got that thing pointed just right at the Earth, knowing they're pointing it to Houston or whatever. But
Floating in
also,
space with
so
movement
yeah,
and
but the Earth
the
may
Earth's
be on
rotation.
the other side, yes.
You
So
know
how
what I
does
mean?
all that link? But then again, so I mean, when I was a kid,
It doesn't matter, Rory, if the Earth's flat. I'm just saying.
or if they're on
It
the
doesn't
coin
matter.
side and they're trying to shoot but so the Very gets on one side, they'll flip over. And the
Yes.
but the other thing, when I was a kid, you couldn't take film through the airport. You couldn't put film in your checked bag because they X-rayed all the check bags and it would ruin your film.
True.
And so, like, how would they bring that back then?
Well, I have a lot of questions about like
Is that a lead
the
container, maybe?
the alleged
I don't know.
technology they used for all those belts because I'm not very familiar with like what is contained necessarily in the atmosphere, but there's
Yep.
got to be some magnetic type waves in there, right?
Well,
And
that's part of what it is. I
that'll
mean, because
screw up electronics because I know
oh,
even with
it screwed up all your
watches,
navigational stuff,
you can't
I would
wear
think.
watches have to be anti-magnetic or it'll jack up all of your mechanisms inside.
Internal. Yeah.
Yeah, it'll jack it all up.
I don't know. I just the whole thing, I couldn't imagine being the first dude. and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna strap you on the tip of this rocket and shoot you into space."
Hey, fill
You're
out
like,
this power of attorney and this will. Gonna
yeah,
put
it's
you
like,
on this
okay, cool,
rocket. Okay.
let's do it. And I mean, it's
Serve
just
your
all
country,
the
son.
yeah. And then you're gonna land in the ocean. Hopefully, we get to you before it fills up with water and you all drown.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
If the parachute opens
Yeah, and you're
and
gonna
you
be
don't
going 83
disintegrate,
million miles an hour.
you're gonna be
And
a
this
rocket. You're literally a meteorite hurtling to the earth.
yeah,
You'll be
I
all
just
right.
I mean,
Hopefully you hit some water.
so but and we're gonna start drifting, but that's the point. But, so you weren't even born for the Challenger when the Challenger blew up.
Not was that
That was like
98?
86, 86.
Oh no.
Yeah, that was way before you.
Yeah.
So, you ever follow any of this stuff? You're a Florida boy, it's like
I
Florida legend.
remember I remember stories about when it had taken off, and I saw videos of it,
Yeah,
and I remember watching it. It launched up, and then
like
I
a minute and
think
26
something
seconds
fell
in.
off the side, and then it just
So, there's another podcast I'm listening to where they talk about the whole thing, but they, okay, so the shuttle system, right? You've got the actual orbiter, which looks like a plane thing. It's attached to this big orange thing, which is full of liquid oxygen. And
okay.
then it's got two solid rocket boosters on the side. And those solid rocket boosters are reusable. They push it off the launch pad up into space at a certain point in
Talking about
time.
those white rockets on the
Yep, yep.
side,
At a
and then you
certain
got
point
your
in time,
big red tube,
they
which is like
fall
your
off.
fuel
It's a
pod or
fuel
some
tank.
shit.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah.
At a certain point in time, those solid rocket boosters fall off. That thing continues
Mhm,
to push fuel, then it falls off too. Well, anyway, so those solid rocket boosters were made to be. This is all supposed to be reusable, right? They pick up
mm,
that tank from the ocean, and the solid rocket boosters rebuild them, refill them with solid rocket fuel, whatever. Well, they're noticing that O rings were getting destroyed because they're sectional pieces that build these.
mm,
And so before that launched, it got down to like 26 degrees in Florida, like record cold,
mm.
and all those O rings shrank and they didn't expand. And so
Oh, I
once it
didn't know
went,
that.
all that fuel's going through, and it made a jet of fire more or less coming out of the side of it into that liquid oxygen tank. Boom, blew up the whole thing.
Yikes.
And they knew about it. And that's what the whole thing is. They knew this was going on. They had two O-rings in there. It's like acceptable risk. It's fine, whatever. And so
Mm,
they've talked about it now. You can see it on YouTube and other videos, but those astronauts were alive when they hit the ocean still, because when it blew
really?
apart, they were just like tumbling through space, and all their monitors were still on monitoring their vitals. They know they were alive. But what's crazy about that whole thing was it was the first time a civilian went into space. So people had kind of gotten over the whole thing. We're launching these things all the time, like 4 or 5 times a
Mhm,
year.
mhm,
People are like, okay, whatever. When you going back to the moon, and nobody cared. They're just going up there and doing crap in space, floating around the Earth. So then they're like, okay, we need to revitalize this. Let's find a teacher to do this.
mm,
And this teacher, I can't remember what the hell her name was. It'll come to me, Christy something. But anyway, she got selected and made it through the whole program, and Christy McCullough. And
mm.
so there's a teacher on board. So what are they doing to push this? Every school was watching live.
No way.
So like we knew this was happening like at 10 o'clock in the morning. We were all in the library or whatever, had the TV
Jeez.
going, and we watched this disaster unfold. This is why people like don't talk about don't mess with the Gen X kids. They watch people blow up on live
Yeah.
TV and just think that's
Jeez.
normal. And that's what they
Jeez.
did. And it was like that shit just happened. Then I
Yeah.
remember when was it Columbia that burned up on reentry?
I see,
Um
that might be the one I'm recalling a little better because I think
that
that one was like 98 or something,
99
right?
2000 somewhere in
Yeah,
it
yeah,
just
yeah.
like
Because that's the last shuttle launch, I think.
I think it might have been, yeah. It
Yeah.
part of the heat shield fell off on the wing and it just got just incinerated itself.
Jeez.
And that I mean, there's like a piece of popcorn in a bag, and that one is just getting hotter and hotter and hotter. I don't know what you
Mhm.
would do. You know it's not gonna work. I mean, you
Yikes.
know you're gonna burn you are not gonna land. It's not like you're slow enough, dude, put on the parachute and jump out. Dude, you're going 90 million miles an hour. You're on fire. I don't know what to tell you.
Even if you popped an emergency hatch, it would just rip you to pieces. You know what I mean?
You're gonna get sucked out like a dude in the
Yeah.
side of an airplane, but only
Yeah.
like 10 times worse. So so you have to have some risk and failure, I think, to keep the world number one on edge and to keep
Mhm.
everybody from just trying. Ooh, I got like thumbs up emojis going on there, and to keep the world from trying it. And that's kind of what I think, because even like Elon had a rocket blow up the other day.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
FAA went all crazy on it. but it's all experimental stuff still. I mean, these are brand new things he's launching, and it cost $1 billion and it burned up and whatever. But it keeps everybody kind of guessing their own system and keeping the whole thing
Yeah.
throttled to a certain extent.
Progression.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they don't want to. Yeah, I mean it, but it also keeps us. Now I'm waiting for the next one. Is it going to blow up? Is it going to work? What's going to
Yeah,
happen? And I
yeah.
kind of want to watch it. And every single one of those is on TV, and like you can find them on YouTube or whatever when they're launching these things live. And so it's interesting, but
Do you
it's
think
questionable. There's a lot of
since
shit floating around Earth though too. If you ever look at all the satellites and crap
yes,
floating around Earth, there's a
lots of
ton of
debris.
junk out there.
Since I think we're kind of on I think we're on the same page with moon landing, real, probably not,
Yeah.
right? Do you think that the moon rocks that are on display under bulletproof glass, like 400 feet of bulletproof glass, and all
Yeah.
the big symbols on it, like, oh, we brought this back on 19, whatever, from the moon. Do you think those are a fake or just a rock that fell from the Earth or
I
from
don't
the
even think
moon
it's
or
I don't think
from
it fell
space?
from anywhere. I think it's just
Yeah.
a rock.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
I'm
and here's
torn. I don't know if they just picked it up in friggin' Nevada somewhere or if they found like a comet and
so
pulled a
here's a good
little piece
story. You
off,
ready for
you
this
know?
one? Penelope, my kid, has a moon rock.
Oh, yeah?
We found it in the yard. I told her it was a moon
Really?
rock, and she's
Oh, yeah.
100%. I got a moon rock in my room.
Wow. It's worth $1 billion.
Yeah, she's convinced it's a moon rock. So if you tell
Does it
somebody
smell
it's a
like
moon rock,
cheese?
I don't even think she's the moon's made of cheese thing. I don't think is current with
Come
this
on.
generation. But
Nobody else
but
watched that old French film from like 1912?
the rocket stuck in its head.
Yeah, that's what
But
I'm talking about.
so it's a Jules Verne, yeah.
That's
Um,
it.
so but the moral of that is if you tell somebody it's a moon rock and they have any belief that you wouldn't lie to them, it's a
That's a
moon
moon
rock.
rock. That's a moon
So if you
rock.
go to NASA and you look at a piece of rock underneath a bulletproof glass, you tell them it's a
Mm.
moon rock. It's a moon rock.
I remember seeing a moon rock at Huntsville, and I'm like,
Yeah, I know exactly it's at the end of that big room on the left. Yeah.
everybody was taking pictures of it and
Yeah.
stuff, and I remember thinking in my head, just suckers. You
Yeah.
think
They,
it's
they found it
real?
in the parking lot one day with
Yeah,
glass.
some knucklehead tripped on that. Are you
Yeah.
kidding me?
I mean, there's just so much that's questionable. I mean,
Mhm.
I want to say, I mean, there's a bunch of people have been to low orbit, right? They've been in orbit. You may have been in
100%.
higher orbit and things like that. I don't think we've gotten much farther past that.
I
Um,
think that the ISS, the International Space Station, is
about
probably
it.
as far
Yeah.
as, like, humankind has physically been.
Yeah. I think at a certain point in time, there's return issues that would come
Yeah.
on because if you overshoot some things, how are
You
you
gonna
getting
be in a big
back?
hole, you gonna be in a
Yeah.
problem.
I mean, and there's things, I mean, I just watched Interstellar the first time a few weeks ago, and I'm like, that whole theory sounds great. More or less, Earth's dying, right? They got to find
Mm,
some other stuff. They got some perspective other planets they're going to go visit, and but stuff's different. When you get out there, and they're planning to come back at some point in
mm.
time. I don't want to ruin this movie for you, but they end up on one planet, and it's like a certain distance from a black hole. And they're like, every hour there is 7 years on Earth because of the way time works in that close to a black hole.
Oh,
And so he's like,
interesting.
we're going to be there for like 2 minutes, guys. We got to get back because I got to go
Mm,
home before my kids grow up.
mm.
And, but it's just like, but you think about that and what else we don't even know what's
Yeah,
going on. We think we got
the math and
theories.
science of
Yeah. And
space.
all this
Yeah.
stuff and, speed of light and how time works and all sorts of things.
I'd like to backtrack a little bit to something we hit on early on, obelisks on the moon, all
Hmm.
right? So, I think you listened to some of the Mars episodes, probably you probably listened to
I
some
have.
Mars
I mean, I'm
stuff.
familiar. I know where you're going, I think.
I think who was it? Neil Armstrong or what's the guy?
Yeah,
Not
so
Neil.
that's been hoaxed out that said that we've been there before. Like when we
I
return to Mars,
I've
uh
seen some weird pictures on Mars, man. I don't know.
yeah.
So
Well, that's
where I'm going is, do you think that maybe on some of these other planets there may be some proof of an existence of
oh
some
yeah.
type?
Yeah, and that's I think that's where religion stops a lot of people
Mhm.
is that's hard to accept that there's life on other planets. To me, it's hard to accept that we're the smartest beings in the known
Yes.
entity of everything. That's hard for me to accept because, I mean, for all I know, we're the sea monkeys of the greater everything, the
Yeah,
greater expanse, and somebody's just looking at us. Um, so yeah, I think most definitely, whether that stuff is just turned to dust over time. Because if we all died tomorrow, we would turn to dust. You have to dig to find bones and
Yeah,
whatever else.
yeah.
Everything goes on
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Earth's surface,
100%.
especially if it got scorched or too close to the sun or whatever. And like, but other things, and there may be planets that just can't be inhabited, right? Like,
Yep.
some Venus, I think, is like poisonous gas or whatever. If you get to it, however we know that, I don't know. But when we get to other things like that, it might be too cold for things to live that
Mhm.
we know of on some other planets. Could be like Hoth, I don't know.
One of
Um,
the theories I was listening to was discussing about planets, um, planets what's it called? The viability of a planet
yeah, yeah,
obviously depends on its distance from the sun to have
the
that
glow
perfect
zone.
environment, right?
Yeah.
And the theory is the further away from the sun planets in our solar system are the age of that civilization that tried to make it, kind of. So it
Oh,
was really interesting, just the thought of maybe Pluto
yeah,
was like the first, right? And
yeah,
they tried to have a civilization, it didn't work out, and then time, whatever God, whatever belief system
yeah,
you
yeah,
have, maybe that's what started that next program to have the next
yeah,
planet.
yeah.
Let's try it. Let's see how it goes. I
That's
just thought it was really
interesting.
interesting. I was like,
Yeah,
so we're on like this cycle. It doesn't explain the planets ahead of us,
yeah,
obviously.
yeah,
I was like,
yeah. You got
but it was
Mercury up there. Is that
yeah, is
what's going on with that?
they're
But it could be
next after us.
over I mean, but
Yeah,
yeah, but that could still be cooking to get it even the right temperature and the right
correct. Yeah,
growth
yeah, yeah.
rate
For
before we even get
viability.
to us. Yeah, before it even drifts
So
out into
the
that one.
theory is the civilization would keep hopping
Yeah.
as
And so each
time
star
progressed.
really only has one inhabitable planet at a time as it just works through the rotation.
Right.
But that's like, I mean, that I think part of it also is, you know, we call our moon moon, but we're like, oh,
Mm.
Jupiter's got 19 moons. Well, they're named this, that, and the other. Well, why is ours just called moon,
Yeah.
right? Why isn't that
Mo-
called Bob instead of Bob? And it's a moon, but it's
mm,
just called the moon. Um, and like the sun is the sun. Is that its name? Because you got
mm.
Alpha Centauri and these other Polaris and these other stars named things. Ours is just called sun. So I don't know if somebody break
It's
that down for
weird.
me. That'd be cool. But also, if you look at the night sky, as long as no terrible light pollution, you see all those stars out there. Those all potentially have a bunch of planets revolving around them somewhere
Mhm.
else. So I mean, you think of all that. I mean, the odds of that being a pond with a bunch of fish. I mean, there's a lot of fish in that pond.
Absolutely.
So I mean, that's what makes me question all of that. I mean, it's hard for me to say we're the only ones because
Mhm.
that just seems very, very selfish and very human
Do
nature of us to do.
do you think I agree is very much in line with traditional human traits?
Yeah,
We're the only ones here, you know what
yeah,
I mean? The moon is ours because we got here first, but we
yeah,
didn't. You know what I mean?
yeah. We're the kings of Earth. Well, Earth is
Yes.
just one day somebody was like, Earth's a small fish in a big bucket of planets, dude. Oh, let's go fight in in the playground.
Yes. Do you think the moon or Mars will be the first place we get back to?
Oh, the moon.
You think we'll be at moon first and then do
Yeah,
Mars?
yeah. I honestly think we'll be back at the moon. Well, back. We'll be to the moon. I think.
For the first
Um,
time? Yeah.
Quite possibly. Well, there's some problems. They gotta, like, make sure they land in the right place and, like, not find any boot marks. "Oh, I guess our landing washed away all the boot marks and the flag blew away
They
into space."
accidentally land on, like,
Uh,
that crashed Indian shuttle site.
yeah,
Whoops.
but I think so, but I also am not sure if because there's another theory that the moon is a spaceship.
I
It's a
think I've heard
giant,
parts of that.
hollow spaceship, and, which is why there's a dark side and why it's matched to our
Mm,
rotation and whatever else. So and which is why it rang like a bell, because it's actually hollow. So I think um, there's some trepidation with that because if it
'kay.
isn't, just a regular thing, you don't want to put some stuff up there and be like, we're going to be here for like 30 days or whatever. and have them get eaten by space monsters. They're living
Mm.
inside it or something that we
I
don't
think the
know
term
about.
is moon men,
Oh, I think they're
or
lizard
I'm sorry,
people.
moon people. Sorry.
But yeah. So I don't think we want to. I mean, there's some trepidation to that, but
Yeah.
also I think most people in their lifetime could go to the moon and come back. So the odds of doing that would be greater. Anybody who's planning to go to
I
Mars
wanna
right now is
see.
a one-way mission. There's no
Uh,
way to get back.
while we're here, I want to see how long it allegedly took to get to the moon. Um,
Uh,
how long
it didn't take 13 days. It
to
took
get
it's like
to the moon?
it's days though, I think.
From Earth, it took about 3 days for a spacecraft to travel to the Earth to the moon, but it depends on several factors. Oh,
When
in 1968, the crewed mission, the alleged crewed mission, took 2 days, 21 hours, 8 minutes to reach the moon. That was Apollo 8,
okay.
allegedly. It's like 3 days. That's not long.
No, but how fast were they going though too?
Let's see. Does it tell me?
Because could we go
Uh,
faster than that today?
oh, I would hope so. How long to get to the moon from Earth? Speed?
Yeah.
Speed miles per hour. Holy crap. At that time, or I guess now, 3,333 miles an hour.
A lot of 33s in there.
It's 240. It's 240,000 miles from the
Yeah, but
Earth to the
I'm just saying
moon.
there's a lot of threes in there. If you're on
There's
the
a
no
lot of
agenda
three.
thing of 33. Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Interesting. So
But
it just there's a lot of problems. We went to the moon. We would argue there's fabricated film
yeah.
of the moon landing. There's if you watch any sort of like analysis of moon landing, like like breakdowns or whatever
Yeah.
analysis, there are so many red flags. Like some of the terrain is right out of freaking the
Yeah.
desert in
They've
Nevada.
matched up one picture to
It
another and
like
they're like,
is
yeah, that's where they're
exact the
filming that. Yeah.
same, the flags waving around even though there's no wind or anything.
Yeah.
A lot of weird. You can see some wires. It's
there's just stuff that
weird.
doesn't look right. And that's, I mean, I
That
just
was
think it's all
Hollywood in its heyday. You know.
probably, but I think it's all just very two things. No, it's just very convenient, and I think it was great for its time, right? We couldn't
Yeah.
do it today because people would be calling out all sorts. I ran this through Photoshop, and here's what I saw. I saw the edited layers and whatever. But the other thing is like, who took Armstrong's first pictures from the moon if he's the first man on the moon?
Yeah.
There's like supposedly some camera on the rover, I guess. But
Well, we
I'm
got
just saying,
out. We got out of the spaceship and we put the camera up, and then we
yeah,
got back in. Then we filmed the first.
yeah,
Oh, okay, sure. Okay, checks out.
yeah.
No.
So I just there's so much that I mean,
There's a different time back then too, right? Different time. You believed
oh,
whatever you saw.
oh,
Like
you
Gulf of
100%
Tonkin,
trusted your government.
Absolutely. The government wouldn't lie to you. They wouldn't do
Yeah,
testing on, demographics of people in Alabama to see how diseases work. They wouldn't do that to
yeah.
people.
No, of course
They
not. That would
they
have been
wouldn't attack their own citizens in lower
Florida.
Florida, yeah, and try to get us into World War
Yeah.
III with Russia.
They
They
wouldn't
wouldn't do
they
that.
wouldn't dose, highly educated college kids with LSD.
Yeah, they wouldn't do that. No. What are you talking about? So crazy. But
Yeah, I just
now with the
yeah.
not edu I don't wanna say like we're more educated than the past, but I think there's more knowledge available, which leads
Oh, yeah.
to healthy skepticism, like, I don't know,
Well,
you know what I mean? I don't
that
know
and
about that.
all of the I had this conversation when I was doing my college stuff, was like and this was only back in, like, 2010, I think it was. It was like, the amount of data created is just insane and getting
Yeah,
worse, right?
yeah.
I mean, like, right now, we're creating gigabytes of data just doing this, and it's gotta go somewhere, right? And
Bro,
where does
we
all this
virtually
go?
have virtual artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
It
So
makes movies out of nothing.
well, you gotta prompt it
I
for
know,
most of
but
those.
it creates it. It's
Yeah,
insane,
yeah.
you know?
Um,
There's no reason we can't be on the moon tomorrow. That's what I'm trying to
so
say.
but okay, so, uh, switching gears a little bit, you brought
Yeah.
up AI and all that, right? So, what what are your thoughts on AI? Will AI get to a point to where it is kind of
Sentient?
Yes, and, like, not you're given the prompt to do this, it's like, "I don't wanna
Mm,
do that, I'm not gonna do that, I'm gonna do this instead." You're like, "Hey, nope, here, command whatever, whatever.
mm.
No, disregard that command, we're gonna do this now," and it's, like, just kind of there.
I
Um,
think I think eventually, yes. I think there is a chance for AI to become aware because of just that knowledge. I mean,
yeah,
it's a mind, it's a computing mind, just like we
yeah,
are, right? And so I think at a certain point it'll grow so much to where it starts developing or simulating emotion, thought, free will. Then it's going to get really interesting. Well, are is AI afforded rights at that point when it's sentient and can make decisions? You know
Bigfoot
what I
almost
mean?
was in Texas, but,
This is a close
may have
one.
had rights if it was a humanoid. So
Look like one.
yeah, so with that, though, how would it be able to be contained? Because as soon as it was aware, right, and it's
Okay.
knowledgeable, and it knows that the people that create it could turn it off by turning off whatever hardware it's on.
Hmm.
Do you not think it could just jump to the cloud somewhere or jump to this computer, that computer? Because everything is connected today. You're going
Yeah.
to tell me that there's some computer they've got AI running on that's not network. It's got to get its data from somewhere. It's using the
Yeah.
internet to get all of its data
Yeah.
and learn everything. So it's got a way out, and it could go and run itself on wherever. I mean,
It could.
and that's what like I'm like thinking like once these things are running, how do you stop them?
I don't know. I still think I think we're on the verge of a huge like technology. I mean, obviously we already
Yeah.
are in a huge technology jump. At the turn of the century in the 1900s, they were riding horses, man. They didn't have a car.
Oh, I know
And
that
now
whole
now
yeah,
we have iPhone. You know what I mean? Like it's
yeah,
insane. It's, and then we have
yeah,
AI. So I think we're on the cusp of a huge jump to
to the next level.
yes, I really do. And it's going to be interesting as we make progression.
Yeah,
I think Elon's gonna probably contribute a lot just because he's a mad scientist, and when you have
yeah.
someone kind of loose and free like that,
Well, and he's
they're
got the money.
creative, yeah,
I mean, yeah, he is not afraid to swing and miss because it doesn't cost him what it costs us to swing and miss.
yeah.
I mean, he's got more money than some governments, so he can do those kind of things, as long as we keep him on our side and keep him happy. So just gotta
Yeah.
keep doing whatever we do with him.
If you could you imagine, an Elon just with China, you know? It
It'll be
would
like Lex
be
Luthor.
it would be like Lex Luthor, that's
Yeah.
right. We'd have to we'd have to find the, Captain America serum for for Trump to fight.
But that's the whole other thing is, everybody's pushing the advancements on AI right now.
Mm,
And when does that get to where they're like, oh crap, we got this one running and we can't stop it? And you end up with like a have you ever seen War Games? Matthew Broderick,
long time
1982 or
ago.
whatever. Okay.
That's where
The-
the computer becomes alive and it's gonna like launch rockets
like
to
let's
Russia
play a
or
game.
something.
And it's called World Domination. And he thinks he's playing a
Mm,
computer game and he's playing like NORAD. And
mm,
NORAD sees him because like they like I think it starts off, do you want to be America or Russia or whatever? He's like, I'll be Russia. And so NORAD thinks Russia's going to attack. He's like, let's launch here, here, and here. And they're spinning up and everything. And they're like, well, hold on, how do
wow.
we stop this? And they end up, yeah, it's 50 years old. I could probably ruin it, but I mean, they end up getting the computer in a loop to where it can't stop. I
Mm.
mean, where it can't stop the loop of the other game it's playing to stop the whole world domination thing.
I think AI for getting to the moon, I think AI could help tremendously with filling in gap. Like, how can we really get there? I think
You talk
AI
about like the
and
math for all the stuff, or
yeah,
you talk.
for like
Would you trust that
formulas.
though?
Well, if you had it run it and then you had
Somebody do it longhand next to
physical
it.
exactly, like, just
Yeah,
cross-check all this stuff. Is would this work? Yes. Okay,
yeah,
good. Let's test it unmanned, with
yeah.
Go GoPro camera, you know what I mean? Like an advanced GoPro camera up, see how far it
Well, and I
gets.
think that's what Elon's doing with what he's got going on right now. Because I
Mm,
think what he's testing right now is supposed to go at least drop off stuff on the moon, I think, for us to use later, and the whole point is to get there. But I just don't know why, we have it back. Oh, we didn't have the math, we didn't have the capabilities.
there's
We had the
so many
capability of the
sketchy
60s.
stories. There's
Yeah,
so many sketchy
stop
stories.
giving me excuses. Um, so yeah, there's just it wasn't worth exploring, but we got there. Dude, no.
You know how many
So
precious minerals are probably on the moon?
so that's where I was going next. So
Alleged.
here's the next question I have. Do you think the Earth and these other countries, governments, agencies have the capability of bringing or harnessing asteroids and bringing those to Earth to harvest the materials that are in them?
I don't know. I
Because there's a
think we
theory out there that they are doing that because they've got all these. There are asteroids they've identified that have more like platinum in them than that would ever be
mm,
found on Earth. And if they can just get that and harvest it, it would just
I
change everything.
I don't think it would be necessarily hard. I don't want to like undersell it, but I don't think it would be a hard thing to maybe build a ship of some sort that has maybe I'm just going real basic, like some sort of clamp
Capture, yeah,
to hold on to like an asteroid,
yeah.
whatever it is.
There's some
And
theories like
then
a tractor beam kind of thing.
I mean maybe if it's a metal object
Yeah,
and you have like a super magnet on it, right?
yeah.
Maybe that you could kinda activate or deactivate to bring it to you, and then just either bring it home, drop it, release it from magnetism above the earth carefully so it doesn't
Well, I think
fly into
they're just
LA.
letting them in. They're just letting them in, hit the Earth, and then they're harvesting whatever they can find after it
Could
comes in
be.
and burns up somewhat.
That could be true too.
I like it as stuff from Star Trek. Um,
I think it's an untapped resource if we're not doing that. If we made some sort of consistent, like, flight paths to the moon. Like, let's say we
yeah.
installed like some sort of where Amazon on the moon, right? Whatever, warehouse on the moon. It takes 6 days for a round trip, give or take, right? You could have consistent shipments of precious material
Yeah, I mean, that's
coming
kind
back
of
and
like,
forth.
you ever see Ad Astra?
I don't know. I don't think so.
So they've got stuff in, like, low orbit space, but it's got, like, super elevators going up and down,
Oh,
and there's
really?
going back and forth, yeah.
I'm gonna look that up. I haven't seen that before.
Asteroid mining. The Tran-Astra Corporation, hold on, is this real or is this something else?
That's a movie.
No, 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 what, Ad Astra? I know Ad
Yeah.
Astra's a movie,
Oh,
yes.
okay,
Yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah, that's a movie with, like, Brad Pitt and stuff in it. I'm aware it's a
Yeah, yeah,
movie.
okay, okay. I didn't know that.
No, 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 no.
I was
Okay,
like,
yeah.
wait a minute.
So asteroid mining is a hypothetical extraction of materials from asteroids and other minor planets using near Earth objects.
Okay.
Um, yeah. So I mean, there's a theory to it.
If there was like asteroids full of platinum, it would be incalculable the amount of like money that would be worth. Because I think right now platinum is the most valuable metal out of like
Yeah.
the common like metals that like we trade and sell, like silver, gold. Platinum, I think, is the most expensive, isn't it? It's in the top.
It probably, but so it's saying that asteroid impacts reinfuse depleted crust of metals like gold, cobalt, iron, manganese. I don't know what that one is. Molybdenum, nickel,
Mm-mm.
selenium. I don't know what that is. Palladium, platinum. Oh, it's just a bunch of catalytic converters. Rhenium. This like dudes. We have so many rednecks that would be in space right now if they knew
Oh
the
yeah.
things out there. Um, but
We don't need to go to the moon. We
tungsten.
got Cadillac converters at home.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, platinum group metals. But they're talking about getting those things. But I don't know. It's just I've heard that there's like the number of impacts with
Oh,
asteroids to Earth is increased because they're using some method to draw them into Earth.
I'm looking at a website that talks about precious metals and price per ounce. Platinum is about $1,000 per ounce.
Oh,
Gold is
gold's more than
set.
that.
Gold 1736. But it's
Yeah.
fascinating on the right. It tells you the date of discovery. Platinum was discovered in 1557, allegedly. It says just next to gold and silver, it just says ancient. It has
Oh
no
yeah,
date
yeah. They've been around forever.
since
But
the dawn of time.
I mean, silver is not worth anything compared to gold.
Oh yeah, let me see. What did the silver say? Hold on,
So
I'll tell
for
you.
ounce, it's like $40.
Hold on. Most expensive. I was just on there. Hold on.
Are we looking at like just regular bulk silver or like silver coins? Because some coins
per
hold more value.
just per ounce. Silver $21 an ounce.
Yeah, 21 bucks an ounce for silver.
Silver.
Copper's almost worth more than that.
Copper is not listed on this part. It's just the
Copper's like
top 10. Now there is
copper's like
something.
well,
There's something.
what's copper's like $100 a pound or something. It's crazy, but it's worth. I mean, it's enough that people steal stuff for the copper.
The most expensive metal on this page is something called californium. I would assume it's found in California.
Well, okay, it's
Eight
the most
hundred,
expensive.
839 million dollars. Wait, no, I'm sorry. $839 billion. No, $839 million, 700,000 per ounce.
Okay, so hold on. Now we're getting into
Californium.
some. Okay, we're way off of the spectrum of things. So Californium. Okay, pull that up in your periodic table of elements.
It's called CF.
Okay, pull it up in your. I'm looking what
Got
my
it.
local copper rates are right now. My scrap site.
You'll try to find some Californium.
No, no, you aren't going to find that there. I'll explain
Yeah.
why. Because I don't think Californium actually exists for longer than a moment.
Oh, how did you know that? Hold on. It's a synthetic element.
Yeah, it's at the end of the periodic table. It's one of the last things added.
It's named after California. Blah, blah. Hold
It's
on.
kind of like Einsteinium. Einsteinium
Yeah.
only exists for a matter of millisecond or something.
Roronium.
Okay, I was wrong on copper. Copper's only like $4 a pound here.
That's it.
But yeah, I get
Oh man, I would have
75
thought.
cents a pound for my soda cans.
Interesting. It's got a short half-life. It tarnishes
Oh,
at the air room for California.
yeah, yeah.
That's wild. Yeah, they it's man-made.
Did you not
That's
take
interesting.
chemistry in high school, Matt? Come on.
Look, guy, it's a long time ago.
A long time ago. I graduated like 3 years after you were born.
I
Don't
know.
give me the long time ago.
My subjects were not chemistry. Okay.
But yeah, those should be like at the end of the periodic table of elements.
Mm,
But yeah, because they were recently discovered and they've got different properties and stuff. Not yeah. So, but anyway, yeah, no, that I've heard that theory that they're working on, and we're actually seeing more things impact the Earth because they're drawing them in. So whenever they talk about like all these near Earth
maybe.
misses from these Earth-killing asteroids and all this stuff,
It's because they're trying to drop it off in the ocean for
they're
pickup.
well, they're trying to get it close enough they can grab it with something, and so they're
Oh,
testing
yeah,
how
yeah.
close they can get these to get something up there.
Without blowing us all up.
Well, but it's still traveling at 85
Yeah.
million miles an hour. How do you?
Hmm.
I mean, this weren't. Yeah, no, you can't just go out there and just like grab it the baseball glove. I mean, you gotta
No.
figure it out. But I mean, they land one of those things, you're going to fund your whatever for the next million years because it's going to be trillions of dollars worth of goods inside it.
Hmm.
So that's, I mean, there's just so much in space that I don't think we understand, know about, and I think, um, I don't know. There's a lot to it that's just kind of weird, when you think about everything on Earth and what,
Hmm.
the Earth's finite. I mean, it's only going to live maybe a billion more years or something, but it's only going to live so long.
Correct.
And then we got to figure out, we just go with the
What
tides,
next?
or do
Yeah.
we try and jump off planet or whatever? But if you jump off planet, only a handful of you are going to alive. They're going to be alive. There's the whole thing about there's a movie on Netflix called Don't Look Up. It's all
Mm.
straight about global climate whatever stuff, right? But it's the whole point. Like this asteroid's coming, everybody's going to figure out what they're going to do, whatever. And all the rich people like jump into their planet and die.
Oh,
But
shit. Jesus.
it's like they just don't know what to do. They think they're saving everybody,
Mm.
um, but I mean, what does happen? I mean, I'm sure there's the panic and the people always trying to figure out what's going to, what the end is. But um,
I think Mars will probably be Mars or the moon will probably be the next
oh yeah,
stop,
it's going to have to be.
and then terraforming of some sort on either probably
Yeah,
Mars more than the moon. Moon will probably be like a hub of some sort.
yeah, it's going to be, and that's kind of in the beginning of Ad
You
Astra.
know.
That's exactly what it is. They go to the moon first, and the moon is their jump off point to go into
See.
deeper space
Yep.
because they don't have to get outside the atmosphere if they're already there. So whatever force they have is gone because it's got a fraction of the gravity Earth does.
Humans
But
are creative creatures. I'm sure we could make some sort of way to have food of some sort.
Oh
on
yeah, they
either
would,
one of those.
and I would almost see us in more space stations than an actual. I mean, I think that there would be space stations that would be just be huge. We'd build them in
Mm.
space and just launch these things in certain directions, hoping to land somewhere with some hope. But
Some Battlestar Galactica type thing.
I never got into that. I don't know.
Oh,
I was
that's
more into the
great.
bears and the beats. But yeah, I never got. I'll have to watch that one. I guess
The
I'll know where I can
modern
find it.
remake is great.
Is that all it is? Is they're just trying to like live in space?
You gotta watch it. So,
Okay.
Earth is in the future. They get attacked by an alien race, and a handful of ships make it out, and they're like arcs full of the remaining life
Okay.
of the world. And it's their journey through space of trying to see are there they find out there's other lost colonies from history.
So
It's
okay.
very interesting. It's good. It's
So
great.
here's the other thing that would make me. What if whatever the little obelisks and weird stuff we're seeing in the moon and Mars and whatever else? What if that's us from another time?
That's where it ties to that other topic I talked about. The planets, we kind of move
Yeah. Yeah.
planet to planet as we progress. It kind of fits in that same thought concept. Or we were created and then we colonized and then we're just
Yeah.
we've forgotten through time, right?
Yeah.
Maybe there is a God, a creator, he made us, right?
Yeah.
And the
There's some
book
other
we
stuff he
have
created too.
the book we have is a part of that history, like, it's broken, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We know he made it, he made it, and then there's all these wild stories about creatures and aliens and angels
Yeah.
and devils and demons and all this stuff, but then it's time skips, you know what I mean? And it doesn't make sense.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Could be.
That's. I don't know because I mean the time stuff always.
That
I
would
mean
fit with the
time travel,
Anunnaki and what's his name,
younger
Jeremiah
Dryas and all that.
Jeremiah Sitchin talking about the
Yeah.
planet Nibiru and the ancient technology from other places. It
Oh,
kind of
I
fit
think.
in line with that.
I mean, I think we have some of that too. I can't. I can't believe. So the battery stuff is not efficient, right? We aren't getting the
Mhm.
same thing out of that as we can get internal combustion.
You talking about when we originally went the battery to get us to the moon originally?
Well, no, I'm talking about in general right now. I'm talking
Okay.
about
Yeah,
just
yeah.
even vehicles on Earth, right?
Mm.
So battery vehicles, they're fun. It's great. Got super potential because there's no energy conversion. Goes straight from the battery to the wheel, and you got great acceleration, whatever. But it only lasts so long, right?
Yep.
You can't just it takes a long time to recharge it and everything else. Whereas internal combustion, not super efficient, but it's reliable
Yep.
and it's gotten us, for the past 100 years, has gotten us this far. How has there not been a leap forward in that? So we
I don't
talked
know.
about, I mean, internal combustion engine's old, and we theoretically
I
we had
think
battery cars before we had gas cars
I
with
think that's
old
part of
batteries.
like
But
that the um auto industry and the fuel industry probably putting limitations on that. There's a video and you may
oh, I
know
think
about
on the
this.
gas mileage, most definitely.
Yes, there's a
Yeah.
video, and you probably are aware of this car. There's a car made in the 40s or 50s called the Tucker
Oh,
car,
yeah, yeah.
and it was like it got like I don't want to lie. I think it was like 70 miles to the gallon, and it had like 500 horse. It was extremely fast and extremely fuel efficient at the time, but he got shut down because he used a frame from like a Chrysler or whatever it was.
Yeah, they stole
So
it.
they
Yeah,
sued him for
I
patent
think it's from a
infringement.
Studebaker. But yeah,
Yeah, that's what
um,
it. That's right.
so
So I
but
think there's technology.
there was a guy, I can't remember if it was what he was running it off of. I want to say he's like running it off of water. He created a car. He's like running it off of water, and they disappeared. And he's got like videos, like YouTube videos and
Really
stuff. Yeah. Let me see if
interesting.
I can find
That's
this.
probably the auto mafia and the fuel industry putting because you know what? You don't want some guy to come up with a a thing that's gonna put you out of business. If you don't think that an agency or like a healthcare industry or whatever it is won't put like a hit on you for coming up with
Yeah.
something that will put them out of business, you're crazy.
So
That shit happens all the time. You come
Stanley
up with a
Meyer.
I haven't heard of this guy.
So this guy, let me see if
I'm
I can
looking him up.
see historic mysteries. Stanley Meyer's murder in the water car. Um,
He was murdered, huh?
yeah, he invented a car that could run solely on water. He called it a water fuel cell technology. And Yeah, he died under mysterious circumstances.
Ohio said he was a hack fraud. Of course they did.
The inventor of the water-powered car that died in a restaurant yelling, "They poisoned me."
Oh, jeez, no way. Oh man.
Yeah,
Oh, I've never heard of this guy. This is
turned
fascinating.
water into hydrogen fuel.
That's a cool looking car though. It looks like a dune
All it
buggy.
needs, yeah, it was a dune buggy. All it needs is 20 gallons of fuel.
No kidding.
He sipped from his glass of cranberry juice, then he grabbed his neck, ran outside, fell on his knees, and vomited. What's wrong? They poisoned me. That was
Yeah, I
his
mean they
dying
could have.
declaration.
They could have.
Oh, well, why wouldn't they? Because if you can
Yeah,
build, I mean, there's videos of him pouring water into this thing and driving it around.
that's wild.
So, I mean, it's out there. So don't, yeah. I mean, I don't know. And that's what bothers me to a certain extent is, I'm not oil, gas, whatever. There's gonna be plenty enough for my lifetime. I'm not worried about it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But yet, there's got to be more efficient systems on other sources of stuff we can find on Earth.
Something
That
renewable to a
Yeah, that's more
degree.
renewable. And I mean,
Yeah,
water is technically not renewable, but it doesn't go anywhere.
yeah,
Changes form, it gets, it goes back in the atmosphere as molecules, it'll turn back
yep.
into oxygen and turn into water again with hydrogen, and it'll, rain back down to earth and everything. You can use it again. So I've never understood all that stuff about like people like polluting water and all that. I mean, water will clean itself to a certain extent when it evaporates. I
Mm.
mean, I'm sure that if you have a puddle that's all nasty, I'm sure it still gets nasty, but it's the chemicals. And that's, so here's another one. We're way off where we started now, but
That's the theory of
yeah.
Royal Ramble. We go on tangents.
What is your whole idea on the carbon stuff?
What do you mean, like carbon dating, or?
Carbon in the atmosphere. Oh, we got too much carbon. We need to do carbon sequestration and all this stuff. So
Hmm.
what are they talking about? Are they actually talking about carbon or are they talking about carbon dioxide?
From what I understand, I'm not really in depth on this, but I believe plants and trees need to have carbon to
Oh
be
yeah,
able
no, they
to
need carbon dioxide.
function,
So
right?
carbon is
Okay,
different. So if
carbon
you look at like
dioxide.
your back to your periodic table of elements, carbon is just a regular base element. It's carbon.
Hmm.
So now carbon dioxide, greenhouses pump that shit in there because it makes plants very green, beautiful,
Yes,
beautiful,
tracking.
best plants ever. They're the best ones ever. They're green. So it makes them grow, just like giving them crack. They just go
Mm,
crazy. Um, so in a planet with more carbon dioxide, you get more vegetation. More vegetation means more oxygen, means more people can breathe. It's a
mm.
good thing to
And
have.
it could increase your health benefits for like
And
longevity and stuff
yeah,
because
yeah,
they
and
put people in
plants.
those O2 tanks or whatever for
Well,
healing.
that's yeah. So plants store all that carbon dioxide inside them, and they work all that stuff, and they grow greener, and they use more leaves, and use more carbon dioxide, and all this stuff.
Mm,
So now all these places are trying to do carbon sequestration, build these giant tanks underground to pull carbon out of the atmosphere and store it. So like I had a guy call me one time. I don't know why they did, but supposedly in Iowa they're trying to build some giant, huge underground carbon sequestration thing, right? It's a big controversy.
interesting.
And so the guy calls me and he's doing like a survey thing. And I'm like, well, are they sequestering carbon or carbon dioxide?
Mm,
And he's like, "Oh, I don't know." I'm like, "Well, you need to know that answer before you can ask me any more questions. Because if you store carbon dioxide in tanks, that's CO2. That's like what goes into your soda to make it bubbly.
hmm
But also, if you store that under pressure, that's like a CO2 tank you put in a BB gun. And
mm.
so if it gets punctured, it's going to explode and it's going to go. So I don't want that underground or in my house if it blows up, whatever. But
Yeah.
also, if you take CO2 and compress it down and refrigerate it, you get dry ice.
Mm,
So what are you talking about? Carbon itself, carbon is like dust. It's the building block of everything.
mm,
Tires, mostly carbon black, a little bit of rubber. So what is the stuff they're talking about in the
mm.
atmosphere? Is it carbon particles, just regular carbon, or is it carbon dioxide, which is needed by plants to live and breathe so we can breathe oxygen? But nobody can answer this. Oh, we got too much carbon in the atmosphere. Let's go most since the pre industrial age, whatever. Cool. What are you talking about? Is it smoke particles?
Yeah,
Is it actual carbon dioxide where it's met with oxygen molecules so we can breathe stuff? But we already know Matt didn't go to chemistry in high school. He skipped
I
that
did.
for something else.
I did not
So,
enjoy chemistry.
but that's my question is, and I mean, maybe hopefully somebody watching this, the other three people will understand what I'm talking about and actually pique their interest. Um, hold on, we're gonna look something up.
Yeah, I don't
What?
know that. I mean, you got to know what you're doing, but with these phone calls and like surveys and stuff like, they have no clue.
Yeah,
They're just
yeah,
reading
you
a
can't just have
script.
some college kid or
Yeah.
whatever else, or somebody say, "Oh, let me ask this question." Yeah, carbon's number 6 in the periodic table of elements. I mean, it's a base element, and it's carbon. So there's usually two different, like when we talk about chemistry, the basic chemistry is usually organic chemistry or carbon chemistry, which is a building block of life, is what carbon is. So if you sequester carbon, what are you doing?
Mm,
Because like the earth needs it. We can't take a base element and just store as much away as possible. It's probably not good.
yeah.
Is the best of my knowledge. I don't know.
Interesting.
I didn't know if you'd like thought of that or heard of that also because they
No,
talk
I
about
have
all
not heard of that.
is the same thing back with your senators and congressmen when they're talking
Mm.
about global warming. So we got too much carbon in the air. No, you're talking about carbon or carbon dioxide. What are you talking about? Because you need.
Well,
I
what they're
mean,
talking about is whatever the big, uh, what's it called? Eco
Greenpeace.
warrior
Yeah,
fund. You know what I mean? Whatever they pay them to say is what they're
yeah.
saying.
They
Yeah.
don't know,
They
and
don't
they need to
know.
talk to an actual scientist. And when the scientist says
These
it's all
congressmen
garbage, they're
think,
like, "You're lying. You don't know what you're talking
yeah,
about."
these senators and members, they think islands can flip over. They have no
Yeah,
idea what
yeah,
planet
yeah.
they're on.
And that's what I mean. But I'd rather have that. But that's where you need to bring in your experts, and you need to
Mm,
put your unbiased political party hat on and listen to the actual experts with their science and their math and break it all down. And it's the same thing with like, you know, if you don't know what you're if you're a scientist and you're talking to somebody who's not a scientist, you've got to break it down so they understand it. You can't start
yeah.
off talking in lingo and jargon they don't understand. And you can't use carbon interchangeably
Hmm.
with carbon dioxide because those
Hmm.
are two completely different things. The same thing with carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide. One will absolutely kill you. The other one your
Yeah.
body produces and exhales. So it's all, yeah. I mean, we should sequester carbon monoxide. I mean, before we do carbon, it makes sense.
We'll send that to the moon.
Maybe. Well,
Sequester
that's
carbon monoxide.
well. That good. Did you ever watch Apollo 13?
We can get rid of all the moon men up there.
Did you ever watch Apollo 13?
A long time ago.
Because they had to figure out a way to scrub the carbon dioxide out because the one part of the machine had died.
Oh, I don't
And
remember
then,
that. Yeah,
yeah,
okay.
the so here's another part. The government here's government efficiency at work. The lander was built by one company, and the orbiter model or whatever was built by another company. And so the problem was they had to live in the one because the other one broke down or
Mm.
whatever. Well, the one was only supposed to be able to be in for like 30 hours or something. And so things started to break down, like the carbon dioxide scrubber. The thing actually converted the carbon dioxide so that it turned it back into oxygen so they could breathe. Well, because the one piece was built by one company, the other piece built by another, the parts went interchangeable. The filter in the one was round, and the filter in the other was square.
Oh my god.
And so, like on the ground, they're trying to figure this out, and they dump out a box of stuff. And they're like, okay, we've got all this stuff here, is what they have up there, and we've got to get this filter to fit in this hole. Go. And they're
That's crazy.
taping stuff together and doing
Yeah.
whatever. I mean, they got it to work, but it's also the inefficiency of government. You can't have one spacecraft built by three different companies, three different
Yeah.
places, and put together and be like, "Here we go."
This ties back to our conversation about FEMA. It's just
Yeah.
a disaster. Too many hands in the bucket. You need to have one chef making the chili.
Well,
That's
but
how it needs to work.
you need. I mean, there's a lot that needs to go on, and
Hmm.
you can't have. I mean, on the FEMA thing, you can't have a government agency who's just there to like manage money and whatever else. And well, oh, sorry, we can't get that in here because they're not an approved contractor. Dude, go buy it
Exactly.
at Lowe's and give me this shit today so we can start
Yep.
building this stuff.
Save the
Uh,
receipts. You know what
yeah,
I mean?
well, they're
Save the
not an
receipt.
approved contractor.
Yeah.
I don't care. We need food and water guy. We'll worry
How
about
long?
approved contractors later.
How long do you think it's going to be before we get to the moon?
I,
10
I think
years?
10 years.
10 years? I think that's a fair guess. I'm
I
thinking
think
10, 15.
we'll have some stuff there in the next 2 or 3. I think Elon will drop some junk there, and
Hmm.
knowing him, he'll have some solar powered webcam pointing back to the Earth.
Could be.
Something, and then
With
one day
Starlink, maybe.
you're gonna see someone walk in front of it, like, oh shit, what was that? Uh,
You see
so
a 6 foot tall furry humanoid?
on a horse or something, on some
Yeah.
space horse.
What?
Yeah, uh, with
That's that thing they shot in Texas.
wearing Neil Armstrong's boots. Like that's where that
Yeah.
bird came from. But I, I mean, I would say yes. I think 10 years. I think
Yeah.
we'll see it. They'll have some stuff figured out, but I just couldn't imagine. I mean, just I don't know. I airplanes still. I mean, getting in a giant plane at an airport and
Mhm.
having that thing fire up, fly 500 miles an hour, and land without falling apart still blows my mind. Let
It's
alone
crazy.
launching something into space. And yeah, so there's do your kids watch YouTube at all? They watch like anything like Mark Rober?
No, they're still really little. They
Okay.
watch Bluey. Are
Okay.
you kidding?
So my kids got into Mark Rober. And Mark Rober, he built part of the Mars rover and done all sorts of
Oh,
stuff.
cool.
He's a smart dude, right? So his newest project, so he's got these build kits so you can get a subscription. They send some crap to your house and you build. Part of what goes with that now is you can get a selfie from space if you're in like the whole subscription kit thing.
Interesting.
He built a satellite, and in the satellite is a phone
Okay.
and a camera. And if you get your selfie from space, you send all your stuff, you send your selfie to him. And then at a certain point in time, you can also type in your location. And then at a certain point in time, the satellite thing opens up, a phone flips out. It's got your selfie picture on it with your like place on Earth behind it. And it takes a picture of your selfie with Earth behind you and then posts that to their website.
That is wild.
Yeah. So, I
That
mean,
is wild.
do I think we could get there? If we can do shit like that, yeah,
Yeah,
I would
we
say
can do
so.
it.
And but like that, so he was also talking
Today we could do it.
he's also talking about a lot of things like that satellite will only be in orbit for 18 months to 3 years or something because
Mm,
all satellites put into orbit after a certain date have to have a date to where they will burn up on re-entry into Earth.
mm.
So that all that junk eventually just loses its speed, falls into the Earth's atmosphere and burns up and stuff. So they're I mean, I would say they're conscious of all of that stuff now. And I think we're learning a lot more about lower orbit. So I
Mhm.
think we can get further in the outer orbit stuff. Um, I mean, we have like tourism where they're launching people into space in
Oh,
low orbit
yeah.
and stuff.
You can
So
make serious money off of that.
yeah, I would think that we'll have something because I mean, now I mean it's going to be the same thing with the first people that orbited Earth to where they were in orbit for 2 or 3 days or whatever, and
Mhm.
then but I think they're going to get to where they're going to put a dude in the moon and have him live on a tent in the moon for 4 or 5 days
Yeah.
and then launch
Like
back off. And
like the ISS.
yeah, it's going to be
Yeah.
like that. And it's going to be just, how long can we do this? Can we, create a shelter there they can stay in? You
Start
know,
growing, food what's the term?
oh
Hydroponic
yeah,
or
hydroponic
whatever that
food.
term. Yeah.
Yeah. And just see what you can do for projects. I mean, I,
Yep.
I would think you'd have to have some sort of a thing built there, but I don't know what the
Make sure we
springs
send
are.
them up with a 357 Magnum. We don't want no moon
Well,
man attacks.
so hold on. That goes into a whole nother
You know
thing.
what I mean?
Have you ever heard of the rocket pistol?
No. No, what
My
are you
gosh,
talking
man, where have
about?
you been? I swear you're behind the times. I'm
I
just thinking
am.
today. Okay, so the rocket pistol. Um, so they invented a pistol to take into space because there's no air. So theoretically, a pistol won't fire. So they created this thing
Oh,
called a
interesting.
rocket pistol that each bullet has like a rocket propellant in it, and so it does its own thing in space. And it was originally made to go into space, to the best of my knowledge.
I'm looking at the rifle version, the
The
gyrojet.
gyrojet, yeah, gyrojet.
Gyrojet.
Developed in the 60s.
It looks like a moon blaster, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hold
and
on.
they're very expensive. Oh my god,
Yeah.
$5,000.
Oh, yeah, well, so they don't make the ammunition anymore, so it's really hard to get the ammunition now.
Ah,
Um, but it was all through government contracts. I wanna say it was because of space.
yeah, I think so. It said something when I googled it. It said it was developed in 1960s.
Yeah.
Hold on. What does Wikipedia say? The most
I'm
trusted
on
source
Wikipedia right
in
now on
internet
gyrojet.
news.
Um,
Tested by the army.
but yeah, so I almost certain it was made for space because they were gonna take
Yeah.
it in case they ran into things on the moon. They were gonna take this thing with them.
Oh, excuse me. I could not
But
imagine running into like some crazy moon man.
what would you do?
Start blasting.
I mean, even if you landed but I mean, okay, so let's say not even that. You land on the moon and you see a moon snake.
It'd be wild. I
Because
just
if there's a moon snake, there's other
my moon iPhone, I would take
yeah,
pictures.
but I'm just saying there's other things there because it's eating something.
Has
Theoretically,
to
something's probably
survive.
eating
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you got moon snakes. I mean, what if you saw a squirrel? You know what I mean? Like a
A
moon
moon
squirrel. You'd be like, "What
squirrel.
the hell's going on? These aren't
That's where
supposed to be here."
Sandy's from. Sandy the squirrel from
Yeah,
the
it's
moon, the Texas
possible.
side of moon.
I never gotten the SpongeBob. I don't know how squirrels live in the bottom of the ocean, but
Yeah.
that's all right.
She has a space
But
helmet.
yeah, I know.
That's how she lives.
Anyway, so but yeah, I don't know. I think in our lifetime we will see somebody the second moon landing.
Or
Um,
the first.
well, yeah, yeah, it'll be
The
yes,
first.
yeah. It's
We will
but
see a moon landing.
we'll see a moon landing with people.
Yeah.
I think they've got to be working on that whole thing
Mhm.
with the Van Allen belt, or they got to just be like bullshitting us, saying that it doesn't exist or whatever, and like it's not going to work. But um, I think Musk is going to be the one that's going to spearhead it all and get it to work.
I think he is, like we said in another video. I think he's the genius of our time, or one of the geniuses of our time.
Yeah, yeah, kind of like the Da Vinci of our time or something. And
He's
I
just
don't
smart. He's
know.
a smart guy, or at
I,
least maybe not smart in all things, but he's at least he's bright. Like he's
yes, so
imaginative,
he's got the imagination to do it and surrounds himself with the people
to
that
create
can
it.
create it.
Mm,
And that's like everybody, like, oh, he didn't create Tesla. No, 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 he didn't. But he took what Tesla had started and made it what it is today. The same
mm,
thing, SpaceX, all that stuff. I mean, he's the guy who runs it all. But also, I mean, I don't think he sleeps. I don't think he takes a day off. I think he
yeah,
works hard, and I think he sold all of his houses. I think he sleeps in his office now.
he
The dude's
could.
also got like 10 kids, but
That's
um,
true. That is true.
so yeah, I don't know. I wonder what he pays in child support.
Oh,
I
an
can only
ungodly
imagine.
amount.
Dang.
Ungodly amount.
Yeah. Interesting. Maybe have to get with him just to get some child support. So get with him and adopt a child, and then I can just leave him and just take the kid.
And name the kid Y. He already has X. We can have
Yeah,
Y.
sure. I don't care if you name him whatever. I just need the
Whatever
money.
you want. Whatever.
I'll name my kid a weird name for some cash. Oh, $100,000 a month of child support sounds great.
What do you want to name him? Sure.
Hey, you, come here. Sign this check over to me. Yeah, it'd be good times, but no, I think we're good for today.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, the moon is there.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, it's I mean, fascinated people for thousands of years, and not sure if it's real or if we've been there.
I think it's real. Don't know if we've been there.
Yeah, well, it's tangible. It's
Yeah,
there.
it's
Whether
real.
or not it's actually a native thing to
A
space.
planet of some
Yeah,
sort. Yeah.
that was created with space dust and the original inception of whatever. The other
Mm,
theory is that it's part of Earth that broke off. That's another theory of why it was there or what
could
it came
be.
from. So, but other than that, we'll end it for today. The ramble has come to a natural end, and we will wrap this up. And hopefully, we don't take another month off, and we see where we
Yeah.
are at.
Right.
But have a great night, and we will catch
Awesome.
you on the next episode. See ya.